Hello and welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor and today I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. This is a horoscope for Libra. If Libra is your solar, lunar, ascendant / rising sign, this is a message for you. And we're just going to go ahead and get started. Okay, let's see what the leaves have for you, Libra. All right. Wow. So we have a very large one here. It's kind of interesting. I don't know that I often see them that long and narrow. And I hope that this is not, in my viewer, it looks a little bright. Maybe that'll help a bit. Okay, so I wanted to say, if this is your first time watching the video, thank you so much for clicking on it. I hope this message resonates with you. If you are returning, I thank you so much. Thank you for supporting the channel and coming back. If you would like, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know how I'm doing, let me know how you're doing, let me know what kind of symbols you're seeing in the cups and what kind of messages you think I might be missing, or if you can expand upon anything. I would love to hear your input. Okay. Yeah, and now, you know, these, when you do any kind of divination or scrying, it is open to interpretation. Okay, so I know sometimes people, I have talked to people that think, you know, it's just, there should only be one message and it, you know, cannot be ambiguous. It has to be the truth and whatever the truth means. And yeah, I mean, it's wonderful when we get something that comes through like that and you can really kind of latch onto it. But sometimes this stuff, it's different from different perspectives. So if the way that I read this differs from the way that you would read this, that's okay, because it, you know, the message is meant to be for some people, not all people. Okay, and I'm going to keep stuff going on. I want to talk about this big formation right up here. So it's either at the top or the bottom, and both ways are very important, I think. So we'll start out with it up here, okay, Libra? And in this position, I would say that this is a koi fish. Now, the koi fish is a fairly popular symbol. We're pretty aware of it. It, you know, has had its time and kind of in the mainstream zeitgeist and borrowed from Eastern artwork, Eastern symbolism. And this is a beautiful symbol of prosperity, longevity, health, wealth, all of those wonderful things, wisdom, not just knowledge, but a synthesized knowledge that is wisdom. So these are fish that can live many, many years under the right conditions. They can grow to be very large depending on how big their pond or lake or whatever they're in. How big that space is, that's how big they're going to get. They can be smaller, they can be real big. So I think that's a great metaphor for life. You know, the more space that you create for yourself to grow, the more you're going to grow, right? And if you don't actively seek out a life that you may, where you have that space, where you have that sacred space, where you have that safe space, that personal space, sanctified space, whatever you want to call it, you're not going to be able to heal, process, and grow as a person in the ways that you might want to. So we have to go through life constantly protecting the places that we need. And this means physical, but also our interior world, but also just the things that we carry around in our psyche, in our mind, in our consciousness, not just the unconscious, the conscious spaces. So there always has to be those cycles of kind of spring cleaning, if you will, and getting rid of the stuff that is not helping, that the things that are hindering you to have, the room to go over the things that you need to, or have the motivation and drive to work on that stuff. Okay, the distractions. So for me, I think looking at this symbol and where it's placed, I think this really has to do with your aspirations right now. I think that it also, because it touches in the tail and in the face here, kind of curls around. I think these are not only aspirations, but I think that in your day-to-day life, you have you have continued to do the work to reach the goals that you want to. And that could be in career, that could be in love life, family life, creative, and spiritual, all of those things. I think because of the size of this koi fish, though, I feel like it really spans most of the spheres of your being. So I think you really must currently be really working on yourself, really working on the life that you want to have. And I think that you must have some pretty clearly defined goals. Okay? Now, I want to turn this around because I really, really love this formation turned upside down. And in this position, to me, what comes to mind immediately is the datura flower. Okay, and this is also known as the Jimson weed. This is a nightshade flower. It's very sacred among a variety of cultures, indigenous peoples of North America. I know that there are stories of the datura being given to Shiva, so in the Vedic texts, and just in general, even in more contemporary spiritual systems, the datura flower is used as an aid for dreaming, for divination. It is a magical flower, but it's also very poisonous. It is a nightshade. So to be able to use these kind of plants, right, you have to have knowledge of the plants. This is a plant with an intelligence in it that is very choosy about who it allows to use as an aid, as a tool. So oftentimes, and some people use it kind of haphazardly, but you have to be kind of initiated in the herbal medicines, okay? And this plant is thought of as a feminine intelligence that kind of bridges the dream world to the physical world, but also the dream world to a nightmarish fever world as well, because this is a delirium. So the kind of hallucinations that you would have with a plant like this are often kind of scary and kind of take you to those borderlands on the edge of just sickness, madness maybe, and really, can take you to places that are very uncomfortable. Okay, so parts of the psyche that would maybe be placed in the shadow. Okay, so this is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful flower. I think that in this context, this shows me that you are a person that probably has very important dreams. Maybe the dream world is, at least right now, the place that you're receiving the most information from higher sources, from psychic sources, from, elders, ancestors, intelligent beings, whatever it is. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that this flower showing up in here. I'm not telling you to go out and seek this flower. I don't, I don't, I'm not ever going to tell anybody to go and use plants in their spiritual work, okay? I am interested in it. I read about these things, but I will never advise that, okay? So I'm not doing that, and that's just a disclaimer. But this symbol can still show up, and you don't need to necessarily physically partake in these kinds of plants or anything like that. What I think really is just, this is pointing to me that you're very close to this like thin zone between the base reality and this kind of distorted reality. I think that you probably receive a lot of messages, a lot of signs, omens. I think that it's been very prominent maybe in the last months, in the last year for you, maybe even longer, because this is a very large symbol. So I really think that when you're watching this, and if this at all resonates with you, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. I think that you maybe have even had dreams about flowers like this, being in gardens, and not day gardens, like a nighttime kind of landscape. I think that you probably also, I think that it's probably something that feels scary to you. And I think that's really reinforced for me here, where in the actual where it looks like the flower, and I'm not talking about this is a cornflower, but in this flower shape, it looks like there's a person, and let's see if we can get this closer. It looks like there's a person with their legs up like this, flying in head first. Okay, so I feel like sometimes when you have these dreams, it can almost verge on night terrors, or old hag syndrome, which is kind of tied to sleep paralysis, or something you can experience if you have sleep apnea. But I think that this is more these intense kind of dreams, and I think you become aware in them. Maybe you are a lucid dreamer. Maybe you practice lucid dreaming or some kind of dream work. Maybe you practice astral projection, or you've gone through the process of trying to apply that to your work. I'm not exactly sure, but I think that you get into these periods of time where you have these very intense dreams where you feel like you're really falling into them. And I get this almost kind of, I like visualize something like Alice in Wonderland, where you're just kind of tumbling down the rabbit hole, okay? And then on this side, it almost looks like there's like a little gargoyle standing here, and it's attached to the end of the flower. Okay, more of the stem. And I think that just reinforces these kind of almost like, not evil, but kind of dark overtones that are kind of in these dreams that are tied to this certain cycle of dream work that's happening to you, or you are happening to it. So I think that, this is, and this is normal. These things happen, okay, where you get into parts of your work, and there are things that will come up that have not been unified. You have not processed through them. You haven't maybe come to know some of the scenarios or the archetypes or parts of the archetypes, or the message is kind of just, it's like, if something is unknown to you, if something is in the dark, it's a lot more scary than once you kind of have seen it in the light, right? And you have an understanding, your mind has kind of worked through, made the connections so that you feel familiar with it. And then it loses some of the mystery, and it's not as scary, not as spooky. It becomes kind of a phenomenon that you understand and feels familiar. But right now, when you're going through these initial phases, it can feel very foreign and just, strange, mad, and just terror. A sense of terror really arises when you're in there, right? So I guess really, I think that's something that's probably going on. And I think that that's important for you to remember in your physical form, when in your waking life, on the day side, to do a lot of grounding things. I think that journaling this stuff is really important. Keeping track of the themes, the different things that are involved, different people you come to meet, or maybe appear from your real life and they appear in your dreams, and those kind of things. It's important to chart that stuff, to keep track of it in a journal, and then you can kind of start to see patterns emerge. And it also just, I think you get a sense of not control, but you begin to feel like it's not something that you're being thrown into, but you're really participating in the whole thing that's going on. So then it doesn't seem as scary, in my opinion. Okay. And then let's see. This one looks like a little dog. And it looks like he's gazing over here, and this one even looks like a little mushroom. So that's interesting. I wonder, I just wonder if maybe you're doing some exploration lately. And again, these are just symbols, okay? So this doesn't necessarily mean that there's, I think that, it doesn't mean that you're eating mushrooms or anything like that. But I feel like there's been just a turn in your, it seems like there's been a turn in your psyche. And I feel like you have been in your imagination a lot more. I think that, but it's intentional. I don't feel like you're being pulled away. Like, this doesn't feel like like you're just like dissociative daydreaming type of thing. I think this is more like you are purposely using something like active imagination or guided meditation, but you're using visuals to explore some of these interior places. And I think it feels like you are experiencing maybe some things that you haven't before, maybe some things that aren't making sense to you. Okay. And I feel like almost to some degree, I get this like feeling of an anxiety of maybe being witnessed or watched. And I kind of get that from this. And this looks like kind of a distorted thing. But I don't know. I didn't think this was where this reading was going to go. But let's see. I want to see what these kind of look like. it's interesting too because I've been I've been reading a book about kind of a Jungian view of Ereshkigal and the story of Ishtar's descent into the underworld to go to a funeral for Ereshkigal's husband. Now I can't remember. Yeah, her husband. And just this kind of bizarre landscape, and these gateways that Ishtar has to. Is it? Yeah, Inanna. I always mix up the two. Ishtar, Inanna. They're two separate. They're similar. But anyways, so I have this like kind of underworld, dreamy, surreal landscape in my head already. Plus today is the solstice. So it's like, okay, Saturn's really in full swing here. That kind of, the very Saturnian, land tundra, just desolate. Plus, we have a storm coming in here where it's snowing a lot, and I just really in this zone. I'm looking at this cup, and I'm thinking, God, this really reminds me of Bosch, and just kind of these bizarre creatures in this kind of almost hallucinated landscape. So I really feel like there is a sense of distortion in your life going on. And I feel like, and maybe I'm looking into this through the paradigm of my own experience right now. My lenses are, focused on what I'm doing. And here's a J, and I see that reiterated right here. So there is somebody with a J, and I see a backwards H here. So I saw, did I see? So a J person and an H person, okay? And I think that especially this J person is on your mind because it shows up twice. It seems like it's kind of really in this like middle part of your psyche. It's really, really right up front. The H, not so much. It is backwards. So I feel like this is somebody else. And I think that this is kind of more of a casual thought going through your head with that person. But I think look for somebody important with a J name in your life. I think it's coming up and you have been thinking about them. I almost wonder if it's like a love interest. I feel like I don't know. I feel like there's just some amount of distorted thinking going on. But I don't think that this is like an issue of like mental illness or drug use at all. I don't think that this is what this is about. And I don't even know if I'm allowed to say that on Facebook or on YouTube. But I just said it. I just think that you are really into your spiritual practices right now, and I really think that there's a lot of things are lining up for you. The main things of your life are lined up for you, and here we go with this is the card I pulled for you today, the 10 of discs. So material prosperity, completion of projects, work, things kind of coming together and paying off. So I think all that stuff's coming together for you, totally. On the other side of it, well, it's not even the other side, but this is just kind of like in parallel to that stuff going on. I feel like you're just really in this weird, dreamy place. I think that, I think you just feel very drawn into it. It's very interesting. I feel like almost the sense of being, what is the word? You're just you feel almost annoyed to have to involve your conscious mind in just the basic day-to-day things, like what are the executive functions, right? Cleaning, taking care of yourself, grooming, that kind of stuff, making plans or being organized, running errands, all of that, remembering things in general. I think that all that stuff is annoying because you really just want to escape into this other rich interior world you have going on. And I feel like you just are very resistant to anyone who is trying to pull you out of it. I don't necessarily think that it is to a detriment to your life right now. I don't think that it's like you're not going to work or you're not paying your bills or anything like that. But I feel like the most important thing that I'm getting out of this, honestly, is that, and I see this person right here sitting right there with the legs, and there's a chair. I think you really need to keep track of the stuff that you're encountering, keep track of your dreams, your visualizations, your visions, the impressions that you're getting from the stuff that's coming up. I think write it down. Don't necessarily try to make a narrative of it. It doesn't matter if there's like proper grammar, punctuation, any of that stuff. Who cares? Just write it down. If it's just little scribbles, little drawings, it doesn't matter. Just get it down. And when you start to come out of this really rich period of abstractions, then you can kind of figure out how to do something with it. But I think this will be important to any kind of creative work you have coming up. I think that it's important. These are little fragments that are showing themselves to you. I think that I just really get the impression, I almost feel like it's like, I don't know, you have like a little cloud, like a little electrical cloud in your head. Okay. And like, it's like almost kind of like obscuring any kind of concentration in your life, your regular life. And I explain it like this because, I'm diagnosed with ADHD. Okay. So, when I get totally just, I get into these modes where it's hard for me to really concentrate and finish things. But also just like, I get stuck in certain modes and I almost feel like I'm like blocked off from transitioning back from my thinking to my, to my body and to getting going on the next task I have to do. So I'm explaining it like that because that's how it kind of feels to me. But like I am getting this impression from this reading that that's kind of what you're going through too, is there's kind of something, blocking that kind of ability to get out of this zone. And that makes sense even in the saucer to me, because I feel like there's this little bird that's just kind of, and I think that this is you. And the bird for me almost always, especially if it's in a flying position, is a symbol of imagination, psychic happenings, but mostly, creativity, because it's in that airy space, and sight, and there's just kind of swimming through all of this, like ideas and inspirations and little fragments of information, and kind of collecting that as you are going through that. But then there's this little bundle of stuff, these little, and I almost feel like that's kind of the cloud that you're you know, going into at points. And that can almost feel like you're in a blizzard, you know, and you can't even see an inch in front of you. So you kind of just keep going and going until you can get out of that. And I really think that this is, you know, I think that this is something that I can't even tell. I don't know how long this is going to last for you, but I think that you are properly grounded and you are good at taking care of yourself. But you're going through this period of time, and I think that it's not the first time. I think that this is something that's probably happens for you. I don't know how often, but you know, if you are a person who is very in touch with that kind of other world, or the world that lives in the subtle places of, you know, the space reality, then you know that sometimes you get more than just a toe in there, you know. And so it can be hard to get all the way back into doing your normal things, getting into your normal routine, and keeping your head in the game. Okay, so, but I don't see any kind of warning signs or anything like that. Although I will say with that datura flower, as you know, I said, it is the nightshade. It is the delirium. So there's just such a fine edge of going too far and becoming, you know, violently ill. And so, it's important to remember, you know, you have to have balance. You have to do anything, anything of worth and properly in those higher places. You have to uphold that stuff with your physical form, right? So it's the as above, so below. You have to keep the physical life, body, ability to stay well, healthy, alive, functioning, right? You have to do all those things so it is mirrored in your higher places. So you need to take care of yourself, and you need to do all the things that you know, goes into staying well, or as well as you can, right? So whatever that looks like to you. So that's something to keep in mind, Libra. And you know, other than that, as I said, I think just keeping track of the stuff that's going on. I'm sorry this wasn't really like a very practical reading. It's easier when it's something, you know, about love or work or some kind of family stuff or whatever. But, you know, I tend to like these readings a little bit more myself, because I'm such a fan of the interior work and interior going on. So, anyways, I thank you so much. I am always so honored to bring these messages to you. I hope that this resonates with you. And if it does, please think about liking, subscribing, leaving a comment, letting me know what you think, letting me know if this, you know, connects with you at all. And if you're interested in finding me on Facebook, my Facebook is Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My Instagram is Ula of the Tea. And if you are interested in a private reading, you can go in the description. I added all of the information about that, prices, and where you can get a hold of me to make a booking. Other than that, I hope you have a wonderful solstice. Welcome to winter or summer, wherever you are in the world. And I hope it is a most abundant and blessed one for you. And please come back, check out the videos that align with your other placements. And yeah, have a good morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you're watching this. Thank you so much.